Hare Krishna. I wanted to talk about relationships. As Vaishnavas, we have relationships with many different people, many different living entities. We have our spiritual relationship with our spiritual master. We also cultivate our relationship with Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this relationship that we cultivate is very important because we take God as a person. He's a person like us, but He's a supreme person. He's the Father of all living entities. So as a father has a relationship with his son, God being the ultimate supreme Father, He also has a relationship with us. So as Vaishnavas, we reject any person who sees God as an impersonalist. God is a person, and we have a relationship with Him. So Vaishnavas see that God is a person, and we are eternal persons. Just think about this. We are always conscious. Conscious meaning we are always aware. Even in our sleep, we are also aware. So that must mean that after death, we are also conscious. But we are not conscious of this body. A body might be different. A dog's body. A dog is also conscious, but his consciousness is covered. So this is described in the Bhagavad Gita, that all living entities are part and parcel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, He's the Father. He's the Pita. Pita means father in Sanskrit. So this word relationship is very important. And in Vaishnava philosophy, we have relationship with our deities. For example, Gaur Nitai. Gaur Nitai is our principal deities. Gaur Nitai. They are very merciful. So we build a relationship with Gaur Nitai, our spiritual master, our God brothers, other living entities. For example, we don't kill cows, we don't kill animals, we don't eat anything except prasadam. Prasadam is offered to Krishna or our deities, our Vishnu Tattva deities. So that way we don't incur karma, because since God is the Father, we say, here God, here this is foodstuff for you. There might have been, or there always is, some kind of killing involved, for vegetables. Foods in the mode of goodness. They require some kind of killing, there's killing involved. Yes, we don't deny that fact. So killing is involved, but we offer our results to Krishna. I say, Krishna, here is the food preparation in loving service to you. Please forgive me of all the sins that have occurred. And as a kind father does, He excuses us. So the food becomes transcendental. So this relationship is there. So by having a relationship with God, Krishna, we can create a mood where we don't have to suffer. Material life is full of suffering. So these living entities, the cows, the goats, and all these living entities, they have a relationship with God. So we don't kill them, we don't eat them. Krishna says that we should not give any harm, any discomfort to any living entities. So as Vaishnavas, we don't do that. We respect all living entities. We see them as spirit souls. Their consciousness might be covered, the soul might be covered with different degrees of lust, anger, fear. We see that different animals behave differently. For example, a cow is in a mode of goodness, so why do we have to kill a cow? A cow will never harm any living entity. So as we can see that everyone has a relationship with God. So being that everyone has a relationship with God, we do not have no right to kill any living entity. Yes, that's a fact. But most religions, they do not know that we have a relationship with God. They cannot understand the fact that, we, I, you, and everyone else, they have a relationship with God. This relationship is always there. Just like a father and a son, the relationship is always there. We cannot not have a relationship with our Father. So God is also our Father. He's a Supreme Father. Just like you have a relationship with your material father, He raised you and stuff. So God is our Supreme Father. So this Vaishnava philosophy is very deep is very, very scientific. It gives all the details about Father, His qualities, and there are different kinds of relationship, you can have. For example, you have a different relationship with your mom, your brother, your father, your cousins, aunties. So specifically, we also have a specific relationship with God in one of these moods, and for that you'll have to read the Bhagavad Gita. But we are focusing on relationships. So as we can see that as living entities, we desire friends, family. This relationship is part of human life, part of the spirit soul. So we cultivate this relationship with God, and by cultivating this relationship with God, we look at all living entities as spirit souls, animals, dogs, cats, these entities whose consciousness are covered by different grades of the modes of nature: goodness, passion, ignorance. This is also described in the Bhagavad Gita. It describes the different levels of consciousness. And by looking at all these living entities equally as spirit souls, we don't discriminate. But we know that a dog's consciousness is very, very covered, so he cannot understand this philosophy of God consciousness. A dog cannot understand that he has a relationship with God. You can, but at the present moment, most people, they cannot, because, for example, they are engaged in sinful life. Sinful life means killing animals, eating meat, eating flesh. By doing these nonsense activities, you degrade your consciousness. Yes, just like a sick person. The doctor says, hey, don't do this, but he keeps on doing it. So what happens? His consciousness degrades. His sickness gets worse. So by being engaged in material activities, we prolong our suffering. Our suffering gets longer and longer. So, what do? Well, we chant the glories of God, chant the holy name of God, preach about God, talk about God, anything. We can utilize anything in God's service. It just requires some intelligence. Yes, a person who's working, he can work in God consciousness. He can get some knowledge about God. Not some knowledge, but Krishna reveals himself to the person's, according to the person's surrender. So a person working, yes, well, he can read the Bhagavad Gita, and Bhagavad Gita describes Karma Yoga. What is Karma Yoga? Working, you can work, right? You can offer your results to Krishna. And Krishna recommends that for a person who is not fully surrendered, or that is the process. You just gotta start somewhere. So you can start at Karma Yoga, and Krishna will reciprocate according to your level of surrender and service. So once you build a relationship, there we go again, the word relationship. Once you build a nice relationship with God, He will reciprocate more and more. You'll start to get ideas, inspirations through dreams, through Super Soul. Super Soul is also described. Super Soul is described in the Bhagavad Gita as Krishna's plenary expansion. Super Soul is giving us knowledge. Right now, I'm talking to you. I'm talking to you about God. I have not written all this. So Super Soul is inspiring. Okay, here, you do this. You preach about this. So Super Soul gives us insights about spiritual life and many other things we realize. So as devotees, we try to see, okay, this is Super Soul talking to us. Super Soul is giving me ideas. Super Soul is helping me. Super Soul is guiding me. Yes, because we have trust in Krishna, God reciprocates. So He gives us intelligence from inside, from nothing. We don't look at other people. How can I explain this? We get knowledge from inside Krishna, Supreme Personality of Godhead, as Super Soul. So we don't need anything else. We just need a relationship with God. By cultivating this relationship, we know everything. God is within every living entity. So you can see how a person how he's acting. And we can see that this person is in this mode. He does not know God. His activities are against Shastra, and he's doing this nonsense activity. So he does not know anything about God. So we can also see that how God is acting through other people. God might give you an instruction through someone else. So these things are very subtle. Subtle meaning that it's very hard to detect. And one must be trained up in having a relationship with God to see this. So as Vaishnavas, we try to cultivate our relationship with God. This is one of the main highlights of spiritual life. Devotional service. What is devotional service? Devotional service is building our relationship with God and trying to revive our lost relationship. We're also covered by different degrees of material modes of nature: lust, anger, envy. These are all stumbling blocks in spiritual life. So by building a relationship, we slowly clean all these things from our hearts. So coming back to the point of relationship, yes, we all have a relationship with God. Buddhists, Mayavadis, and all these other atheists, they cannot understand how we can have a relationship with God. They are baffled by this simple idea that just like you have a relationship with your father, your mother, your brothers, we also have a supreme relationship with Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, God, whoever you may call him, Allah, Jehovah, Jesus, Jesus, whatever. God is God. He's the Supreme Person. So we have a relationship with Him. We don't say, oh, you're a Muslim, you have a different God. No, we don't see it like that. We see it, all living entities, as spirit souls. Spirit souls meaning that you are a servant of God. That does not change. A dog is also a servant of God, but a dog cannot understand that he is a servant of God. So we look at all living entities as equal. They have a relationship with God. So by seeing all living entities as spirit souls, we can see that they're covered by different degrees of consciousness, meaning that some persons are more aware of God, like the human beings. They can be fully aware of God, meaning their consciousness is fully awake, meaning that they can see God everywhere and they can see God in every person. So this is what we're trying to achieve here. We're trying to see God. Yes, God has a very beautiful form. This is described in Krishna book, Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita. Yes, God has a personal relationship with you in His personal form, in one of His, youthful, wonderful pastimes. We living entities, we are always looking for pleasure. So we can have the ultimate pleasure in serving God. By reviving our relationship with God, we can get to this position where we can see God everywhere. So as Vaishnavas, we say that we always have a relationship. We always will have a relationship, and also have now a relationship with God. So we do the 9 processes of devotional service, singing, chanting, dancing, offering service to the deities, service to the spiritual master, and many other nice things. People who are atheists, rascals, Mayavadis, Shunyavadis, they cannot understand this philosophy of how we can have a relationship with God. Being spirit souls, we are always and always will have a relationship with God. So Krishna inspired to make this video on relationship, and that's something that we are all working on, how to build a relationship with God. So I hope this video gives you an insight of how important relationship is. Relationship is very important. Krishna says, according to the level of surrender, I reciprocate. So it's right there in the Bhagavad Gita. So if you surrender everything, Krishna will surrender fully. Krishna will reciprocate fully. So it depends on the level of surrender. And all the instructions of Sri Krishna are given in the Bhagavad Gita. So if you simply read this, you'll understand many things about relationships, consciousness, different degrees of consciousness, how to serve God, how to see God in everything, why are living entities covered by different degrees of consciousness. Consciousness is very important. Consciousness is fundamental. So if you cannot understand consciousness, consciousness is a symptom of the soul of all living entities. Consciousness is also there in the grass, but the consciousness is covered, by a gross ignorance. So if there was no consciousness, then there would be no life. A dead body has no consciousness, therefore it's not alive. The consciousness is gone. Where has it gone? Yeah, Bhagavad Gita describes this. Where has the consciousness gone? How has the transmigration happened or is happening? So these are all the things that is described, and these things are all relationships. These are all relationships. According to our relationship with God, we'll get a different body. If we are very rascal and we cannot cultivate our relationship with God in this lifetime, so we have to transmigrate to a different body and get another body. Who knows what body that might be. So Vaishnava thought is, now you have been given this human form of life, which is very rare and rarely obtained. Now it's the time to inquire about the spirit soul. That's the start of Vedanta Sutra. That's also a start in the Bhagavad Gita. So as we can see, this Vaishnava philosophy is very deep. It's a scientific movement. It's a scientific process. So based on relationship, scientific movement based on relationship. So we always have relationship with God. And now it's the time to cultivate, because we've been given this human form of life. We can understand many, many wonderful things about spiritual life. Who is God? Where does He reside? Who are His children? Who are His devotees? How should we act in this human life? How can we perfect our life? So these things, if we don't have a relationship, we won't be able to understand, how to live properly, how to eat properly, how to dress appropriately, and many other things. So all these things are based on relationship, and our supreme relationship is with Krishna. So I hope this relationship fact, you can understand and meditate upon. Okay, I have a relationship with my family, my friends, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I have a relationship with God and God's family, all these living entities. They are His children, His parts and parcel. All this is described in the Vedic Shastras. So we must inquire very deeply. Like Prabhupada says in the introduction of Bhagavad Gita, one must study this science under someone who is already a devotee. That's right there in the Bhagavad Gita. And we must take the words of Krishna as it is. We cannot come up with some mental speculation and say, I think this, I think that. No, you cannot think like that. First become purified, then Krishna reveals Himself to you. Yes. Then you can understand certain facts about Krishna that is not there in the book, or you might not be able to understand in the beginning. So this is the process called self-realization. Krishna reveals Himself, according to surrender. Yes, this devotee is trying to understand me, so let me give him some insights about me, so he can, he can relish this and want to do more. Krishna is always seeing, what can the devotee do for me? Krishna is looking for pleasure. He's called Rasa Raj. He's the king of rasa. He wants us back, but He wants us back in a state where we won't fall down again. So there are various things we do in spiritual life. There are tests, just like there's a test at the end of life, which is death. Can you remember Krishna? Can you remember His pastimes? And these are the things that are real. It's the real test of life. At the end of life, this is the real test. Can we remember Krishna? And if we cannot, then our life has been a failure, and we'll have to transmigrate to another body. Might be a demigod's body, might be a cat's body, a dog's body. We don't know. So in this human life, we build a relationship with Krishna and go back home, chanting, dancing. Who does not like to chant and dance? Who does not like to eat glorious prasadam? Who does not like to serve the deities? Who does not love, a relationship. Who can deny the fact that we don't have a relationship? We always have a relationship, and we must take this seriously. Okay, I have a relationship with God. How can I cultivate this? This is very important. So, I hope this rambling about relationship, gives you a desire to inquire about your relationship with Krishna. So, Hare Krishna, and you have a relationship with God. Please inquire, and if you don't know or you're too ignorant, stop your nonsensical, sinful activities by following the 4 regulated principles. No meat eating, no illicit sex, no gambling, and no speculation. And you'll see that you're getting better. The sickness is going away, and you'll see that, oh, I have a relationship too. Yes, I have a relationship too. So, by following these regulated principles, you slowly get purified. And by getting purified, you can see God everywhere. It's based on consciousness. We've talked about this word consciousness, soul, relationship, karma, reincarnation, and all these things. All these things are explained in the Bhagavad Gita. So you must, do your work. Don't be lazy. Read the Bhagavad Gita. Hear from the pure devotees. Hear from the devotees. Sing and dance and chant. So Krishna reveals himself. This devotee is serious. He wants to build a relationship with me. He's not whimsically just doing it, just for the hell of it. Just, his eternal constitution is being a servant. So he's trying. So let me reveal my relationship with him. So he'll respond. You must be able to understand how he is responding according to your realizations, according to your relationship, So Hare Krishna, cultivate your relationship with Krishna. Haribol.